Another speaker, another wonderful friend, Alberto, psychologist, educationalist. But I'll perhaps describe a wonderful friend, spontaneous. He's a real Italian, let's put it this way. Has a very warm heart and already loves our country, and particularly the younger part of its population. But he is the kind of man, we in our movement, Scout Movement Plus, use the word minimore pocolina, that the sea is only knee deep. For Alberto, anything is possible. And I find that wonderful. Virtually, you come up with an idea, sure, we'll do it. So this is one of the, I would say for me, perhaps the most important characteristic. But he also has a tremendous sense of humor, and he has a very, very warm heart. And I stress that because if anything that the world needs the most is more love. To love people, love life. And I think he is also a living example of that. Thank you. Thank you, Alberto.
Thank you, Bogdan, for this invitation. You are able not only to be a courageous, people-centered leader, but also with your gentle touch to touch the heart and always to smile in the face also of a dramatic situation. You are a role model for all of us, and we're really proud to have you among the trustee of the World Academy. It's really a fortune that I met you. I'm really learning a lot. And you are a national hero, I think deservedly. I am really touching a little bit of what Ivo and Gary already announced, focus on the point of education. Well, one of our fellow Nobel Prize, Paul Cruzen, the guy that offered the word Anthropocene to explain what has been going on our planet for a long time, dangerously long time. That the human behavior, human activities are nowadays the main variable impacting all planets' life forming. So nowadays the evidence, the scientific evidence is massive that we're not doing at all a good job. Although the fact that this catastrophe are brought up mainly from our behavior, give us the indication that is in our power and responsibility to do something effective about it. So we need to act quickly and to bring change in a way that would humanity would be able to have a sustainable development, that we would have to re-examine all the dynamics of economics, political, human, social construct, how we construe reality, what kind of narrative we are living our life as individual, as community, as nation. Ivo and Gary already have pointed out in general. But, humanity nowadays is really facing the same dramatic situation this polar bear is actually facing. Actually, the melting of ice is not bears that are responsible by human behaviors. since my topic is about education, one of the reasons that we are mismanaging, grossly mismanaging our potentialities is also how we have construed, developed education. Education is one of the main, after the family of origin and the culture, one of the main social construction of reality. In other words, how reality is construed. You know, you go to school and you learn about reality. You learn about science, and you learn about what a professional is, whatever your profession. So we have educated people to be blind often to the obvious, to the intricate relationship that guides the life of this planet, either in human or in environmental lives, ecologies. And we need a paradigm change in education, as well as we need it in science, that is, by the way, taught in the educational institution, to enable, to empower people to deal more effectively to the mounting challenge that we need to face. In other words, I'm saying that unfortunately, we are often blind to the obvious. We are often blind to what civilization that we call savages knew all their life, that everything is connected. And for example, I have a friend that works in the United States with the Navajo Indians, and they have their concept of living a proper life is to walk in beauty, they say, translated in English. And walking in beauty means to be grounded to the reality in which they live. And if to nourish themselves they kill an animal, then first they ask the soul of the animal the permission to be killed, or a tree to be felled. Say, how naive, how primitive. Well, actually, it's much more primitive to destroy ecology, human and natural environment, thinking that are just things, reificated things, that just to be building blocks to make some money. So we need to create a new paradigm education to have an education that serves the people needs. And so an education that is relevant. Relevant for what? For what education should serve. Public service, social responsibility, sustainable governance, and sustainable development. So, since it's dramatically clear, even to the person in the street with mounting a natural catastrophe of climate change, that we need to have an effective way to protect and promote human and environment capital, we need that at the school, that the information system help us to think globally and to act effectively at the local level. And so to do that, we need effective knowledge, but knowledge not just in terms of cognitive. We need how to put knowledge into action, and so we need the competencies. More than anything else, relationship competencies. I think, for example, Bogdan is a good example. The way I suspected that he's been able to have all the successes he had in promoting change are due not only of great ideas, but an open heart. How could you resist a man that is always smiling and is so courageous? You know, we need not only the mind, but also the mind united with the heart and with our belly. Otherwise, we're going to have the same problem, mounting problem. So competencies that are interrelated and they are intersectorial, and these have every level: the socio-cultural, the environmental, the economic, the psychological, and also the spiritual. And the professions so are important to contribute to this needed change. Unfortunately, the state of affairs of profession around the globe is not in a good shape. The sociology of profession, that is a branch of sociology, show that our social construction of sociology, of a profession, meaning I go to school and I become, in my case, a psychologist. Well, that is a social construction that happens. It's not that I'm a psychologist. I'm the kind of psychologist that they teach me how to be. And that is the social construction. For example, when I went to school to become a psychologist, they taught me, to just show what I'm talking about, false things. They said that they were giving me scientific education, but that was a lie. In some cases, they gave me information that were false. For example, I was taught to label every citizen that there was a minority in sexual orientation, homosexual, lesbian, like citizens that were affected by pathology. That was totally false. Until 56, 57, and 58, we had a mountain scientific evidence that is not true, that they have pathology like heterosexual. So it was not science, but bigotry that was passed. In fascist Italy, I'm Italian, there was the Institute of Race. Well, that is totally false. It was portrayed as a scientific institution. There was not such a thing as race. We know that, by the way, there is no race, but that nowadays we know, I'm proud of it, that each of us has between 2.5% or 3.5% of Neanderthal. So also the Neanderthal in me says hello to the Neanderthal in you, and I hope it's okay. And, before that, even great master, father of modern psychotherapy, every female client that entered in the room as psychotherapist was immediately labeled with an incurable problem, penis envy. How stupid. And there was no scientific evidence, but this was bigotry, how to put down women for male that were not bad, but they were, just breeding. The social construction was that women are inferior. And you want another dramatic example? In the States, in 1851, if you go and learn psychiatry, they would teach you about the running slave syndrome. What is the running slave syndrome? By the way, I want to inform my friend and colleague Gary that full employment, there was one for slaves. Slave had no unemployment. And to explain the strange syndrome, why some slave would run away, say, what the heck? Why a slave run away? No unemployment, so he has always a job. He has also a social role, so no uncertainties, no confusion. He has also the future assured as a slave. Also his wife, his children. Now, to run away for such a sure future, you must be crazy. And so can you imagine often what we call science is just racism, bigotry, fear. And so, like nowadays, if I make the example, crazy are things, like Gary was saying, that we study economy, number 1, and then psychology, number 17, and sociology, number 21. Like we are not a planet, we are not a social environment, like we are just a separate square. That's kind of crazy, dysfunctional. Unfortunately, the preparation, nobody's at fault, nobody's evil, nobody is doing something on purpose, but it's dysfunctional. So, on one side, and that's good, we've been offering education to a mounting number of people. UNESCO has calculated that there were 500,000 students in university worldwide around the 1900, and 100 years later, 100 million. Wow. So, that's very good, but the numbers are very good. But is the education really preparing people to deal effectively with the reality in which they live? That's, I think, much less. So, we certify people that are, competent in their field, and their competence is unnecessarily limited. For example, I'm not a medical doctor, but I teach to medical doctors, and I'm a friend of many medical doctors, and they're fantastic people. They know everything about psychopathology, but they have much less trouble to understand how to promote health and well-being. And economists, that's, dramatic. We laureate economists, but how they're helping us to deal with this crisis? Not so good. And so forth, and so forth. So, we train our professional in obsolete ways. So, we say at the World Academy that has created this independent institution, the World University Consortium, to whom everybody is welcome, by the way, I'll say later. We feel that we need to be more effective. And in order to be more effective, education should shift, not exhaustive elencation, but from being centered just on cognition to human-centered learning, from passive learning to active learning, from the memorization by rote, where in many countries still going on, to critical thinking and original thinking, fostering creativity, individuality, Gary was saying. From understanding just on cognitive level to offer an opportunity to develop the potentiality in the whole spectrum as a person. If a medical doctor, that is, for example, an oncologist, is not trained to relate to the suffering, to the fear of the patient, also to the fear of the family of the patient, he's an excellent doctor on technicality, but he doesn't know how to help that patient as a person to respond in an understandable language to his hope and fear and the whole family, and ignoring scientifically a very important aspect, that stress, uncertainty, and fear lower the defense immune system, and so will make recovery much harder. So we need to go in having a possibility of learning life-centered knowledge. I'm here in full agreement with Dewey, the philosopher and pedagogists that said, the problem with schooling is that there are too many teachers and too few facilitators of learning. That's exactly the role that we want to do. We don't know the solution. We want to facilitate a process of brainstorming, of creating new knowledge, because in the age of globalization and growing complexity, to meet the challenge of our present and future for the planet in new and effective way, we have to promote the capacity of integration that are nowadays required. So to think and act systemically, to see when we're talking about people, the biopsychosocial and all the other values, and we need to be people-centered, person-centered in the application. And we have mounting evidence that that is more effective. So the point is education all together, because we are all together in this planet, and we are gonna all lose this, possibility, or we're gonna bring it. So, what is needed, not to do the old-fashioned. I fully subscribe to what one of our founders, Albert Einstein, said, that you cannot create the solution of problems with the same thinking that has created. Gary was citing that. So, if a university alone, in the so-called ivory tower, were able to do this, they already had produced that. In some cases, there are good examples. And some examples of good education are certainly what Bogdan is doing with the younger Ukrainian that we met. That's fantastic. That's people-centered education. That is the intersectoral learning. I'm really enthused by what you're doing. So, we want to bring all the stakeholders. What that means? Civil society, everybody, because the problem is everybody, but not everybody educated in the West. We want to bring in to say their say, if they want to say, also the village in the south of the world, maybe without electricity, but with a solar-powered computer nowadays, able to say and learn from everybody. All together, maybe we can make it. And some positive signs there are. I have a friend that actually was the son of some friend of mine. He's a much younger kid. I'm 70. But nowadays he became a psychologist and decided not to go into psychology. He's running around the world, including Italy, selling the Harvard medical school system that teach people not to just learn by rote they used to be, but is student-centered, and the students are empowered and challenged to find the solution. Much better. And there are so many other examples. We at the Academy have created this World University Consortium that doesn't welcome not only a university consortia, but also organization like a non-profit organization. We are very proud the Bogdan Foundation is one of the founders of this consortium, and many other institutions to have what? To discuss, to talk, to create a new paradigm with a process of learning from each other. And for that we need a safe space where university and all the other stakeholders can cross-fertilize and respond together more effectively to the urgent needs of society on the local and global levels.
Alberto?
So, 2 minutes.
Yeah, I was just going to say, you're not a slave and therefore don't have a job security as a speaker unless you end quickly. Thank you.
Yes, I will. Thank you. And so everybody would be empowered to cooperate and effectively promote human and natural capital. There is the website that can give you a lot of information, but our main objective would be have a global forum to have a person-centered, people-centered approaches, to make available for free best practices, to offer, when possible, free education with online and a hybrid system, to be value-based, to use the open learning system, and to create new metrics on research development and advanced instrumentation for the evaluation of the educational process. So, this initiative is needed, and everybody interested is welcome to join in. Thank you.